Uh, we got like 98 different topics to get into here this morning, so I guess we'll start back at the absolute beginning. Now that you've had an extra day to think about it, uh, Nashville and Atlanta. Nashville to me just looks bad.
Yeah, I mean they're not a good team. They're a good defensive team though, and that's something that they have been able to maintain over this four stretch right now. They're not an easy team to break down. It's how Gary Smith built that team. So even when they're not good, they can always lean back into that. And I think that's what they did a little bit against Atlanta. They just wanted to get out of there without losing. And I mean, you go back to Nashville and their issues, that's really it, right? They are very good at not losing, but they're not very good at winning. And that's why they made the change that they did. On the Atlanta side in that game, I mean, look, you're missing your best two attacking players. And it showed. It 100% showed. You didn't create enough. You weren't good enough in the final third, but you found a way to get something out of the game, even with a penalty that is debatable. I mean, look, we can all argue it, and everybody's got their opinions, and I really hate how we get into this when we're talking about a judgment call, how it is 100% right or 100% wrong, and if you think the other way, then you're dumb. And that's what too much of the national media is doing about this. And it's funny how they always seem to do that when it comes to an Atlanta situation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Look, nobody's dumb. This is a judgment call that plenty of people have seen both ways. I don't like the penalty because I feel like Mukhtar is not playing. He's playing for the penalty. That's what I don't like about it. This is something that I think has been a pretty universal conversation about the game is we want to get away from those kinds of penalties. We don't want those kinds of plays to determine games. Penalties happen, contact or even the threat of contact, it happens all over the field. My opinion about that call is if it's not a goalkeeper who makes a challenge in the way that Brad Kazan does, in the middle of the field, goes in and the player dives in the way that Mukhtar does, looking for contact, jumping into the player, leaving the leg down a little bit, getting that little bit of contact, but touching the ball 3-4 yards wide of where they were going. I don't think you get that call in the middle of the field. And this is the kind of penalty that I think we used to see a lot, and we're not seeing as much now. So it's a judgment call. You can justify the call. I don't like the call. But please, when we talk about these judgment calls, there are referee decisions that are right or wrong, period. We all know that. But when we start talking about these judgment calls, can we stop with the you're dumb, you're stupid, read the rules? Like, stop it. Just stop it. It wastes everybody's time. It's the hardest thing about refereeing. I don't love the call at all, but the referee's not stupid. And anybody who thinks that it is a penalty is not stupid. I don't like the call because I feel like he's looking for it. We need to have that conversation. We have
Yeah.
to get past these lowest common denominator. You're dumb. Like, let's stop
Mm-hmm.
it, please.
Absolutely.
Maddie, your first question for Jason, who is live in Charleston, trying to wake up with a Red Bull with a hell of a view. Go for it.
Well, I will say before I get into the question, Atlanta United just released that they are signing 4 players to a short-term contract. We got Alan Carlton, Matt Edwards, Ashton Gordon, and Jacob Williams will be coming up, and they will be there and available for the U.S. Open Cup, Charleston Battery. We saw Ashton Gordon and Matt Edwards up there playing with the team yesterday, and we also saw Alan Carlton as well as Jacob Williams as well. Looking at those 4 players coming up, and especially Aiden Torres too, him stepping up to being that homegrown deal, what are you expecting from them and the impact that they're going to make? We know what Edwards can do. We've seen him in the first team match, but what do you anticipate seeing both of them, all of them in this matchup today?
I think when you start going through the process of elimination about who's going to play and who's got minutes and who might be freshmen, I think Matthew Edwards is more than likely going to start because he didn't play much in Huntsville. You've got fullbacks who, and Brooks Lennon's played every minute in MLS. I think you'd like to give him at least the night off from the start. Caleb Wiley is looking like he's feeling the effects of playing a ton of minutes, so you'd probably like to not play him at all. You're going to have to play Edwards, I would assume. Then you start to figure out the rest, and Jacob Williams gives you cover at left back. He gives you cover at left wing as well. I think we've watched him with Atlanta United too improve the defensive side of his game a great deal. He's had to move into that left back role with Daniel Russo's injury. It served him well. It's actually served the club really well because he becomes valuable in a game like this one tonight. Alan Carlton's development has been a lot of fun to watch, and I think especially as a 10 or an attacking 8, depending on how you want to align it. Alan looked really good in Huntsville. He looked like a different kind of player, and I think one of those things you see with young players sometimes when they know they're either on the cusp of an opportunity or they know it's coming. And I would assume that the conversations before that game in Huntsville, guys knew they were either in consideration or they were going to go to Charleston. Allen looked like a player who was motivated by that opportunity or that decision that he's going. I thought he looked really good. He can give you minutes tonight. He's incredibly good on the ball. He's a great passer. Brennan's another one that we've talked about. I would assume that he's going to start. He didn't play on the weekend at all. And which one am I missing? Who am I missing? Oh, Ashton. Ashton played with the U17. And how many minutes did he play, John, on Saturday?
I'm trying to remember.
Did he go the 90 or did he come out at some point?
Oh, man, hang on just a second. Let me grab my roster real quick.
I didn't mean to send you running.
No. Ashton went, let's see, so 45 because Mason Peacock came in at 45.
That was by design. So Ashton will be very fresh. He can play up top and he can play on the wing. Both are possible. And I think he's a little bit more comfortable on the wing. I think the club wants to get him into the ability to play as a 9 so he can be a little more versatile. So you could use him in either spot. You're going to see a lot of Atlanta United 2 influence tonight because you're going to have to. I mean, you just look at Almada out, Yakimaki's out, what that means potentially for Saturday. You look at the back line now with Noah Cobb out. Efrain Morales probably going to play tonight. Luis Abram didn't play much in Nashville, so you would expect that he would be available from the start. Your midfield, Jay Fortune didn't play in Nashville. Is he going to be able to go in this one? Dax McCarty didn't play much. You would expect that he would be available to go. Nick Firmino played 45. Jamal TRA came into the second half. So you've got a lot of guys that are either out or limited in minutes right now. So those Atlanta United 2 players are going to be very important in supplementing this team tonight. And you've got to find some veterans around them to help with that. If that's a Ronald Hernandez, who I think is really good in these kinds of situations, if that's a Dax McCarty, if that's maybe not quite as much of a veteran, but an Edwin Mosquera as well, who did not play on the weekend. If it's guys like that, Luis Abram, who can help round the younger players and the less experienced players at this level, that'll be a big help. But the 2 guys are going to have to play, and they're going to have to come off the bench tonight too.
And this is that delicate balance because of schedule compression where you're balancing competitions and you've got to think about this matchup tonight at Patriots Point and then with LAFC, who's in the same boat you are, even though they're playing Loudoun United at home. They're a couple of hours behind you. But it's that delicate balance right now of juggling competitions and figuring out, okay, if I plug in somebody here, what about this matchup coming down the road?
Yeah, the good thing is the travel isn't going to affect you in this one, really. It's an hour-long flight. You'll have to modify a little bit of what you do. Monday was normal for everybody. It's a little bit of a quick turn playing Saturday for both teams and then playing on Tuesday. Charleston played last Wednesday, so they're going to be fresher, but they also don't really rotate. So their guys have played a lot of minutes this season. That can be good or bad, depending on kind of how they want to approach this as well. I think for the Atlanta perspective, though, unfortunately, you can't let tonight hurt you on Saturday.
Yeah.
You just can't. Not with where you are in the league table right now. There's a lot of time to play. You have a lot of games left, but every game you lose a possibility of picking up 3 points. So you've got to prioritize the regular season. That doesn't mean you don't want to advance. It means you have to count on some players that maybe you would count on different guys. if you were in a different spot in the league table, maybe if this was in a different part of the calendar, whatever. If you had opportunities to play more of your first choice in a game like this, with where you are right now, with the injuries and that hand, in either situation, maybe this is typical. I think everybody gets bent out of shape on this kind of stuff, but how many times have we had this conversation, whether we're talking about Arsenal, whether we're talking about Real Madrid, whether we're talking about Milan in their cup competition?
Mm-hmm.
You have to weigh the balance of what it is for you in that calendar season. Are you healthy? Where are you in the table? When does the game come up? Does travel factor in? Do you have young players who are, itching to get more time? You have guys on your bench that are itching to get more time. How do you manage each of these cup games as they come up? And for Atlanta, you have to manage it, I think, a little bit differently right now because of the injuries and because of where you are in the league table.
Maddie for Jason, live in Charleston, getting ready for Open Cup.
Ooh, I think looking at Charleston, you had the opportunity to kind of really sit down and look at that side. How do they play, and how are you expecting them to come back and combat a style like Atlanta going into this matchup?
Yeah, my question for Charleston, I haven't had a chance to dig too deep into them, honestly, with the schedule that we're all facing. I mean, there's others of us who are on the road in these situations as well, and it's been a long couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I've been home a little bit, just a little bit. So I mean, look, it's hard. For Charleston, they're gonna play in a 4-3-3 kind of a shape. They've got a good bit of experience. They've got guys who have either been here in Charleston a good bit or guys who have played for Ben Pierman over the years, whether it was Memphis or before a good bit. They've got a lot of experience. They've got a lot of guys with like 100+ professional games. That's something that jumped out to me when you start to look at this Charleston team. They don't have a ton of guys with MLS level experience, but you're not facing a completely MLS kind of roster either tonight. So you've got experienced players. You've got guys that are going to be in a good spot. As Dale says, they press a lot. They try to win the ball back. That's going to catch up to them at some point with playing so many guys, so many minutes. We'll see. It's still early in the season. They should be fine, and they've got that almost full week to rest for this one. The biggest thing to me is you've got belief. This Charleston team right now is just, you've got a team that has not lost the season in competitive play. And when you have that, you've got belief, you've got confidence. So they're not going to come in afraid of Atlanta United at all. They're going to feel like this is an opportunity for them to pick up that cup set, even if on paper, when you look at the rosters, it might be a little more of a 50-50 game just because of how Atlanta has to approach it. You've got guys in form too. MD Myers has got 9 goals in 11 games this season in all competitions. Markanich has got a ton of goals in USL play. 2 guys up top that are both goal dangerous. That's a challenge for Atlanta. I'll be curious to see how Atlanta deals with it. If Charleston wants to come press them a little bit, now, again, it's not the usual mix of Atlanta players. I think Atlanta United handles that better than teams that wanted to sit back and bunker. I think when you get to play, that suits this team. Charleston, as Dell said, and just as being at home and being confident, they're not going to sit back. They're not going to be a defensive team tonight. So there will be space. If Atlanta can deal with that pressure and pass around it, there will be space to operate in. And that's what you have to look for. The interesting element from the Atlanta side, and Gonzalo kind of talked about this a little bit when he talked about the energy and the passion that the young players, the academy developed players bring to a game like this and bring to a team like Atlanta United in a situation like this. They're going to be, I think, a little more direct at times, a little more quick to go to goal. And that might be a good thing in a game like this. Ashton Gordon, for his age, 16 years old, he scored some big goals with the Jamaican U20 team. He's a player who, you get him into the attacking third, he won't be afraid to go to goal. Luke Brennan won't be afraid to go 1v1 with guys. So it's going to be fascinating if Charleston tries to step up high and press and Atlanta can play through it. We could be setting up for a very fun back and forth kind of a match.
Ropes was wanting to know about Shande Silva and trying to see if Shande might get some time tonight.
I mean, he's limited in minutes. You want to get him back fully fit, and with Mosquera not playing on the weekend, I think you would want to rest Silva for Saturday and give Mosquera this game. And if he goes 90, he goes 90, but I think he's going to start. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I think with Silva, you just want to get him back to where he can play 90. You know, where he's been able to play 20, 30, and then the awkward situation in Cincinnati, for example, where neither he or Mosquera could go the rest of the way when Almada came out. You went with Silva, and I think he's shown you a little bit more. You want to see more from him. I think Shande's got it in him. You need to see more from him, but you've seen more from him than you have from Mosquera, from Wolf before he was injured. So you want to get him ready to go for Saturday. I think that has to be the priority for Shande.
Broadcast plans, sir, are what?
So on air at 6 o'clock tonight, Abe Gordon, Garrett Chapman will get you started with the 5-stripe countdown. 7:03 is the kick from Patriots Point. We'll have it on 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app as well. And I think this is an easy one to sync up with the YouTube stream. And I know it's a little awkward to find the YouTube streams. I'm pretty sure Atlanta United has directed you directly to the stream. If you go to the Open Cup website to try to find it, it's an unlisted YouTube stream. They basically want you to sign up and give them your email and get newsletters and stuff. And you probably already are. I don't know how many newsletters I get on a regular basis at this point in my email. Very easy to slide past those when you have to. But the other site that you can get this info from is the cup.us. They will set up a playlist and they'll share the direct link. But I think the Atlanta United direct link that I shared a little while ago, I think that is direct to where you can watch the game. And then pause and sync. The Odyssey app will be your friend in that if you want to sync us up and listen to the Atlanta United call of this match tonight in Charleston.
Looking forward to it, partner. And please tell me that you're keeping your receipts and keeping track of your miles.
Of course.
Attaboy.